Hey everyone, hope you had a good fall break. With this discussion board about self-disclosure, in the textbook they had a little section on it, and in the textbook they defined it as anything that is revealed about a therapist verbally, non-verbally, on purpose, by accident, wittingly or unwittingly. And some positive things that self-disclosure can do are they make the counselor more of a real person besides just like an expert on the mind and how to like help people. So it makes them more of a real person who has, real emotions, and they have issues and struggles just like everyone else. So it helps the client feel less intimidated by the counselor, I think. And it helps build that relationship between the client and the counselor because you're sharing something about yourself. You're not just um, listening to them share everything about them and giving them nothing like in return. So it makes them feel more connected to you. And it also can offer a behavior that the client can model. So if you say something, some kind of thing that you did similar to a situation that they're in, then the client may think about that and say, maybe I should try that. And After reading about self-disclosure, it seems that it's highly focused on helping the client-counselor relationship, and that made me think of Rogers' person-centered theory. Uh, but one of the problems that, like the textbook said, mainly self-disclosure is difficult because it it's hard to know when to use it and how to implement it because it's very tricky. You don't want to use it too much. You need to use it at the right time because it can have negative side effects. And one problem that the textbook didn't really mention, that I thought of, is if you use it too much, if you keep telling them about your own problems, it can make the relationship feel more like a friendship, uh, because you're sharing things back and forth instead of a professional relationship where you're how it's supposed to be, how you're supposed to be listening to their problems and helping them because it's about them, not about you, not about your relationship with them, not completely anyways. So I think that that could definitely be one of the bigger problems with disclosing your information too much, is that they feel more of a friend to you than you being professionally there to help them. Um, I liked the example they had in the textbook of the awkward self-disclosure in that little box. I think that he made the right choice in that example, because if he didn't tell her that he was going to be there and then she shows up and sees him, that could create a really awkward moment, and it might damage the relationship that they already have worked to build and potentially ruin, like what they've been trying to accomplish there. And I also liked how when he told her he was going to be there, he said woman friend instead of being there with his girlfriend, because he knew it was a sensitive topic for her. So I thought that was a really good way to put it for him. And overall, self-disclosure seems to be kind of complicated and confusing. Um, but I'm glad the textbook gave us those guidelines, that list. I think the one that stood out to me most, the most important one to me, looked like number 3, which is disclosure is best used to normalize situations, validate reality, build the relationship, or offer alternatives. And I think those are all really good ways to use this. And I felt that normalizing the situation is going to be kind of the best one, the most used one, because I don't know, in my mind that just kind of clicks, like, okay, they're going through this situation, whatever, I've been through that same situation, so I'm going to sit there and tell them that, oh, I went through the same thing. And that's going to make them feel better because it makes them feel not alone, makes them uh, feel like, oh, they're a person too, they understand what I'm going through because they have gone through it. And I think that could be a very powerful thing in counseling. Personally, at this point, I don't feel like I'd be comfortable using it because I'd be too scared that I would use it incorrectly. My biggest fear is that I would overshare, because in my life in general, I'm very open and I just share things with people, and I feel like if I was in a counseling session and I was trying to do self-disclosure, I would give them too much information about what I'm trying to disclose. Instead of keeping it simple, I would give them too much information that would kind of make things a little more complicated or maybe even weird. I'm not sure. I would like to see more examples, because I don't really know how, I want to know how you can reveal things like non-verbally, or like maybe like some things that you might accidentally self-disclose, that you should kind of be aware of and try to keep away from topics like that. And I also think doing practice counseling sessions, and maybe trying to throw in some self-disclosure here and there in, a non-formal setting would definitely help in getting feedback on that. So yeah, self-disclosure overall seems kind of complicated, but I think it can definitely be useful in the certain situations.